In a world where a wannabe dictator thinks he can bully an entire nation, where tariffs are his weapon and billionaires his only priority, one country refuses to play along. This is Canada.
They always underestimate us. They think we're small. They think we're weak. They think we'll just roll over and take it.
But just like this goose, Canada doesn't run. We fight. We don't start the fight, but we sure as hell finish it.
And right now, we are in the fight of our lives.
Donald Trump thought that he could shake down Canada like some back alley con artist. Slap on tariffs, force us to kneel, and make us beg for relief. But guess what?
He underestimated us again.
He thought we'd fold like a cheap lawn chair in a hurricane. Please.
That's right, Dave. Canada left our tariffs on for 30 more days just to show him who is actually in charge.
Doug Ford hit U.S. energy with new taxes. You touch a stove once, you get burned. You don't touch that stove again. And David Eby is putting taxes and tariffs on those trucks that are coming all the way up to Alaska.
And the rest of Canada? Liquor stores are pulling U.S. booze off the shelves.
And then there's Wab Kinew, Manitoba's premier, who just torched Trump by mocking his fake signing ceremonies.
When Canadian premiers are straight up roasting a president like it's an SNL skit, you know we're done playing nice.
And Trudeau, when our Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said that Canada will not go through this psychodrama every 30 days, his response was legendary.
It's Thursday. That, my friend, is Canadian energy.
Trump thrives on chaos. He wants Canada to panic, to break, to beg. But instead,
we're calm, we're collected, and we're keeping our tariffs in place, just to remind them that we don't negotiate with toddlers.
And remember what we told you in our last videos? Red states will be hit the hardest. And guess what? It's already happening.
Kentucky admitted that Canadians not buying any of their booze is worse than any tariffs.
The auto sector? Practically begging Trump to stop the auto tariffs because they know it's going to kill jobs. And guess what? He caved on potash because American farmers, well, they were feeling the heat.
That's the thing Trump didn't count on. Canada is willing to take the heat to outlast Trump. His own people? Not so much, because right now the red states are suffering first, and it's only going to get worse.
He has no idea what he's doing to regular people. He doesn't care. The only people winning are the billionaires who put him in power in the first place. You ever notice how every time Trump announces tariffs, the stock market nosedives? It's not just bad policy, it's a scam.
Step 1, Trump drops a tariff bomb. Stocks crash, and who swoops in to buy the rock-bottom prices? His billionaire buddies.
Step 2, he pauses the tariffs for 30 days. Markets rebound, and who cashes in? The same billionaire buddies who bought low.
It's the oldest trick in the book. Tank the market, let your friends buy the dip, and ride the wave all the way back up. And who's getting screwed? Regular people whose savings and pensions take the hit.
Let's set the record straight. Ukraine didn't choose to give up its nuclear weapons, it was forced.
After the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine inherited the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. Bigger than China, bigger than France, bigger than the UK. They could have been a nuclear superpower.
But the world told them to give them up. The US, the UK, and yes, Russia all promised that if Ukraine disarmed, they would be protected.
That's the deal, and that's what they were assured, that Russia would never invade. That if they were attacked, the West would defend them.
So when people say that Zelensky is ungrateful, are you kidding me? Ukraine lived up to its end of the deal. They disarmed. They trusted us, and now Russia invaded anyway. And Trump, he's just leaving them to die. And here's the question no one in Trump's camp will answer. Why is Trump pressuring Zelensky to give up? when it was Russia that invaded.
Ukraine didn't start this war. Russia did. And yet, Trump is out there acting like Zelensky needs to prove his commitment to peace. Well, what about Putin, Trump? And to those people who say we shouldn't be fighting someone else's war, let's go ahead and explain why this is our war too.
World War II didn't start with Hitler marching into France. It started when the world ignored him invading Poland. Everyone thought, not my problem. And then the world burned.
And now we're watching history repeat itself. And it's appeasement all over again. Putin is testing the waters, and Trump is letting him. And if Ukraine falls, where does he stop? And to those of you on Truth Social who are still crying about NATO pushing Russia into war, please shut up.
You say NATO provoked Russia? No, Putin started a war. He bombed civilians, he flattened cities. This is on him. And if you're still blaming NATO, you're just repeating Russia propaganda. NATO has always been about stopping Russia. And who's cozying up to Russia right now? Trump. Trump is out here acting like NATO is some scam the U.S. got tricked into. Like it's a bad business deal that he inherited. So let's take a second and remind him who actually needed NATO first. Are you ready, Donald? Because we're about to give you a history lesson.
For 75 years, NATO has been the backbone of Western security, a promise that an attack on one is an attack on all. NATO was created after World War II because Europe was still in ruins and the Soviet Union was expanding fast. The whole point was to keep Russia from taking over the rest of Europe. He says so many lies about NATO, it's exhausting. He's always saying NATO countries don't pay their fair share. But the reality, NATO members don't pay the United States. They invest in their own defense budgets.
Another lie he likes to say is that NATO allies wouldn't help the US if we were attacked. Reality check. The only time NATO's collective defense was triggered was after 9/11. NATO allies, including Canada, stood up for the United States, no questions asked.
So when Trump says NATO allies don't help the US, where was he when our troops were bleeding and dying in Afghanistan because the United States was attacked?
And here's a sober reminder. Nobody sent America a bill. We didn't demand mineral rights. We didn't ask for anything in return. We showed up because that's what allies do. Let's get straight to the point. If you think the biggest threat to Canada has ever been Russia or China, guess again.
Because the only country that has ever invaded, threatened, and seriously considered taking over Canada is our so-called ally to the south.
Let's rewind to 1812. The United States decides they don't like that Canada is still British, so they invade. What happens? We kick them out.
And of course, in return, the British, including some Canadian forces, marched down to Washington and burned the White House to the ground.
Fast forward to the 20th century, and the US actually had military plans to invade Canada.
That's right, it was called War Plan Red. In the 1930s, the United States literally drafted a plan to invade Canada as part of a war with the British Empire. And now, we've got Trump back in office thanks to those idiot MAGAs threatening our economy, playing games with tariffs, and openly disrespecting Canada at every turn. Canada has fought side by side with the US in every war since World War II. We have always shown up for the USA, even when we didn't have to. The question is, we stood by you. Will you ever stand by us?
It hasn't even been 2 months and he's already gone after NATO, he's siding with dictators, and now he's isolating the US from the rest of the world. French President Emmanuel Macron is proposing a European nuclear shield without US involvement. He's emphasizing the need for Europe to strengthen its defense capabilities, particularly in light of Russia's actions in Ukraine.
Trump cut off military aid. No more missiles and no more long-range weapons to push Russia back.
This isn't just a funding pause, it's a battlefield disaster. Ukraine's entire defense relies on US intelligence, satellite data, and air defense systems. And now, that lifeline is gone.
Russia isn't stupid. They see this as a chance to go all in.
Trump says he's pausing aid to encourage peace talks. Let's be clear, this is a surrender. And who benefits? His buddy, Putin. We started this series by asking one question. Why is Trump so desperate to tear Canada down?
It's because we are proof that democracy works. Because we are proof that healthcare, education, and an economy built on fairness is possible.
And that terrifies him and Putin. Because if people start looking north and realize that there's a better way to do things, his whole con falls apart.
So what do? What we're already doing. We hold the line, we fight back, and we make sure the world knows that Canada isn't backing down. We stand united, and even Canada Joe came back. Because we are Canadian!
So if you're with us, share this video, call out the lies, challenge the narratives, and most importantly, don't let them win.
Because we're not just fighting for Canada, we're fighting for the truth. We said it once and we'll say it again. Canada can be the beacon of democracy, the catalyst for change, and we're not backing down.